Welcome back to another episode of Watch Therapy. Today we have the Casio Frogman, reference number GWF-A1000. Let's take a moment just to connect with the watch. Ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is I finally get it. I get G-Shock. I get G-Shock Nation. I get all the fanfare over these watches. Finally, I was ignorant for a very long time. Videos do not always do justice. I'm going to try to do that here, but I can tell you, I watched a lot of videos and heard people going on and on about how great G-Shock was. I think the Time Teller is one of the best YouTube channels out there, and he loves these watches. I couldn't get why. I agreed with every other watch he liked except these, and now I hold one in my hands, the GWF-A1000, and I get it. I got it because it first caught my eye because of the sheer size of this watch, 19 millimeters thick. Looks even bigger here on camera, but it's when I did this. I put it on my wrist and I thought, there's no way this thing can be at all comfortable the way they describe it. Oh my gosh, it's so comfortable. It was like that quick. It was that quick. And then I got it because this thing packs so much technology. And for the first time in the Frogman series, it's analog, all of it. And honestly, for me, that's what did it. I mean, digital is fine, nothing against it. But I love analog. And I looked at this and I thought, wow, there's so much it can do. I personally get outdoors a lot. I do a lot of swimming. I don't do a lot of 200-meter saturation diving. But I certainly put this on and said, this is the most incredible looking watch. It's so comfortable. And it does a lot of things. Some I will use and some I will not. But I think ultimately I fell for it. And I really can't believe how comfortable it is. I hope that's coming in. So you can see the back of it. Talks a little bit about, there it is, Frogman. It's a carbon fiber monocoque there, 200 meters. And there is an app for this. It's certainly handy, but there is a lot you can learn. I don't think the learning curve is that steep. Basically, almost everything happens through here or the crown. But when I talk, if you look right there, it's currently showing the day of the week, but it's going to cycle. Once you hit it there, and it's going to go to the stopwatch, right? Start stops there, right? So you got the stopwatch, stop it there, reset it. Oh, there's the light, sorry. Reset, and you're ready to time again. Push it again, right? That's a timer. This is a countdown timer, so you can set how long you want the timer to go for and hit this, and it starts counting down. Speaking of timer, I just noticed, again, it is also dual time, so you can have a world time and your local time. Great for traveling. And then you hit it again, and there's an alarm. I used this the other morning. I had a race. I set this thing up and I had it for 4:45 a.m. Yep, bright and early. It went off. I will say you need to be careful if you're a sound sleeper. It goes for 10 seconds and 10 seconds only. And you want it close to your head because it's not the loudest thing in the world. I'm a light sleeper, so it didn't bother me. It did wake me up, but you definitely want to test that out before you rely on it and end up missing a flight or something. Then that goes back to the regular mode. And there's also a tide function. So that is through the app. I have one set. I live in Colorado, so I have one set back in Maine where I'm from, just out of interest. And you can see the kind of the low and high points there. The high point, the ebb tide, all listed there. That's a pretty good amount of lume. I wouldn't say it's not Luma Bright, Seiko Bright, but all these yellow indices you see here from like 12 down to almost 4 stay pretty well lit. All these indices, and then the hands here, the main set, and then the world time ones are this really cool, like ice blue at night. So very cool. And yeah, if anybody else has one of these, I'd love to know what you think about the lume. Definitely throw that down in the comments. I also like these nice solid metal. I mean, everything just exudes quality. It's not as heavy as it looks. So again, very comfortable on wrist. Everything is built from the top in. So you can see it's a sealed case. So it's ISO certified for diving. And you don't need to service it anyways, but if you ever did, it would come this way, right? It would be removing these hex bolts, taking the top off and getting to the movement. It's got a beautiful sapphire crystal, little bit of dome to it there. Not too much. And it is Tough Solar. I had to look that up. So that is a company called Tough Solar that supplies the solar movements to these. It does not have a meter or indicator as far as how much battery life you have. So I read, and then basically if you're very low on battery, things stop working except for perhaps the time. So when you're going to different modes and things of that nature, it just simply won't respond. It conserves its energy and just uses it for, control or tracking the time. So that's something to also be aware of. And yeah, what do you think of this watch, guys? I'll tell you, it certainly is big. And I will say the solar part, it's a little hard. You can't, sort of aim it up towards the sun. This is pretty stiff right there, right? So it's kind of always on its side. You can't really lay it flat. I don't want to. It just feels like it wants to stay kind of rounded. So I think that makes it a bit of a challenge to kind of poke it up towards the sun. You put it in the window at night or something like that. In fact, I did put it in my windowsill last night because this does have a multi-band 6. So it receives an atomic time signal every night and then calibrates it and adjusts it if it's at all off. This is also Bluetooth to my phone. So if you're really worried about it, it will sync to the phone's time. And when you're traveling, let's say you enter a new time zone, the phone picks up on that and it immediately communicates with the watch. It's incredible. And the watch will automatically change the times. I'm about to travel internationally next week, going way over to Central Asia. And I can't wait to take this thing with me. It's just going to be an awesome companion. Never worry about hurting it. Never worry about being late. It's as accurate as possible. And it's going to read exactly where I am in the world. And so I think it's an incredible watch. It's retails for $800. I'm going to tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I would normally say you could look at TikTok Time Shop for this watch because a lot of the watches I review are for sale there, but I bought this one. I bought this from TikTok Time Shop. Jonathan there treated me right. He's such an incredible guy and such a great businessman. And this one I bought. I reviewed a lot of their watches and didn't buy them, but this one, you start to see the blue there. This one I did buy because I really did like it that much. Yeah, so we're gonna go and give it a watch therapy score. Look at that LED, very nice. It's all from solar power. It's incredible how much power it can use to do all these different functions and just use solar power. So let's move on and give it a watch therapy score. Okay, looking at the Casio Frogman GWF-A1000. Overall appearance and wrist presence, that's a solid 9 out of 10. Everywhere I go, people are just like, what is that? I mean, you can't not see it. And the thing is gigundous, 18 or 19 millimeters thick. I will say though, it just wraps so comfortably around the wrist, and it's not heavy. It's really not that bad. The dial, I think that's incredible. It's a solid 9 out of 10. You know, there's a lot going on there, a lot of information, especially now that it's analog. So imagine you're changing all that was digital in the previous Frogmans and having to come up with a analog equivalent, which I think is a masterstroke of engineering right there just by Casio to be able to do that. Comfort on wrist, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I mean, for a thick gauge rubber band, you almost never give that a 9 out of 10, but it just forms around your wrist. Mine is 18 centimeters in circumference. That's a 9 out of 10. Cool factor, I mean, come on. It's 10 out of 10. It's 11 out of 10. It's greater than 10. It's greater than the sum of its parts. It's incredible, all the different features. The tide function, the world time function, the stopwatch, alarm, you name it. Features, 9 out of 10. Accuracy, 10 out of 10. It corrects every day with that radio signal, and it syncs with your phone. It can't possibly, no matter how hard you knock it into anything, it has that shock resistance, and if it's ever loses time or gains time for any reason, temperature, being hit by something, that shock, it'll always correct it. That's 10 out of 10. Build quality is 9 out of 10. I think it's just solid. I mean, it's made of like bolts and like a carbon monocoque, frame to it, and the case back. Incredible. Versatility, I think it's a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I wear it just since I've had it for almost any reason, but short of a dressing up, short of going out to a dinner party, maybe a nice dinner party, maybe a casual one, I would wear it. Versatility is 9. Movement, 9 out of 10. Absolutely solid. I think that, giving it more time, I would probably see that it's a 10 out of 10. We'll see how reliable it is, but it's made in Japan. I'm not worried. Strap, it's also 9 out of 10. I would have given it a 10 out of 10, except, again, it is a little stiff if you try to flatten it all the way out to kind of like have it laid out so it can, again, pick up sun or some sort of light source. It really wants to be on its side, the watch does. That gives it an overall score of 92 out of 100 for this Casio Frogman GWF-A1000. And this is Josh with Watch Therapy, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching.